I'm happy to be representing Cisco, and thank you for making the time. I know, especially as entrepreneurs, time is your most critical asset, and you're choosing to spend it with us and Accel, and that's awesome. I flew in yesterday, and I was joking with some of my colleagues, like, it should be criminal to have this good weather. It's amazing. We sat in the patio, had breakfast. You guys are lucky. You guys don't know what you have. Traffic maybe whatever, but the weather is amazing. So let's talk about a little about AI. We talk about waves. There was the waves of the internet before that, PC computing, then there was cloud. And this wave, we think, is one that is going to impact literally every single thing that we do at work and outside of work. So when we say it changes everything, I truly, genuinely believe that this is not just sort of your day at work, but this is everything that we do. And you can see in that early stages of that disruption trajectory, if you will, the easy parts are already being plucked out. Priyanka, was listening to him backstage, was talking about chatbots. Everyone is going to have a chatbot. You and I are all going to have 5 assistants that do specialized jobs. That's a given, right? That's not going to be that dramatic. I think everyone is going to have those. The real value, we think, is going to come from where better outcomes can be generated, not just faster, but better outcomes can be generated. It's almost an adage these days to say, like, there was a whole generation of us that built products and were focused on providing the best answer, right? You have access to information. How do I produce the best answer? If I have more data, I can be smarter, et cetera, et cetera. It's very quickly and unmistakably becoming about, do you know what is the right questions to ask? And that, I think, is where that diversity thing comes in that we were talking about. Having a diverse scope of data, diverse scope of understanding of the environment, that is the thing that is going to enable you to ask a lot of the interesting questions that will solve real-world problems. And we're going to start, I think, with specific use cases. And in fact, talking to this community, I would say, while it is impacting every single thing that we're doing, I don't know how you guys feel, but I think we've not yet hit on what are the net new value creations that we're going to do, right? And I think it's going to start narrow. It's going to start with the sort of universe of problems is going to shrink to what are the exact problems to solve. So it's not going to be just foundational models, what can OpenAI do and what can Mistral do and Llama, et cetera, but it's going to be how you customize it for a particular domain. How do you customize it for a form factor? How do you customize it for a particular interaction? And Cisco has a very broad purview across all of these things. Cybersecurity, of course, is where every bit of complexity shows up. So if it is in the infrastructure, all the exceptions that you have in the infrastructure will show up in cybersecurity. If you have applications, data in there, governance thereof, all the exceptions will show up in cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is, in a way, a receptacle for every possible difference that you have in workflows that exist pretty much however you take applications to market. So cybersecurity and your application and your infrastructure go hand in hand simply for that reason, and AI is going to be no different. And this is where I think by now it should be sort of abundantly clear to people that Cisco stands about connecting things, people, places, not just networking, but it's about connecting. And where we connect these systems that are enabled by AI or AI-first sort of workloads, that's where the opportunity is for us to bring about not just productivity, but make sure that it is done in a secure manner. There is, of course, the actual infrastructure on which AI models run. I'm I'm not going to go into super detail about this, but this is a huge area of both investment and excitement at Cisco, which is what is the infrastructure that Cisco can enable for people to run. Again, as I was talking about, starting with narrow AI, leading up to something more broad. How do you customize these AI models for solving specific problems? That infrastructure is what we are deeply invested in making. The second one, is harnessing AI for security, because security is all about broad context. Just knowing that a bad email came is one thing, but this bad email came to somebody who's in accounts payable, and this is the last month of the quarter. That is far more interesting. And the fact that this person failed their testing and that they changed their phone 2 days ago, all of that broader context helps immensely when it comes to security. So AI for security is a real shot in the arm for the good guys. And then the other part, which is anything that is being used, also has the potential of being abused or misused. So that's where securing AI itself is also very, very important, especially as we are going to be building, all of us as a community, are going to be taking, I should say, decisions that are recommendations that are made by these models. So we really need to be able to trust the attestations, the assertions that are coming from these models. Really important. AI thrives, build only on data. The governance thereof, the provenance, where did this data come from? Is it all synthetic? Is it neutral? Does it have biases, et cetera, et cetera? Really important because data is that lifeblood for these models. So how do you secure the proper use in these AI models? That's another big area for Cisco. Ultimately, what people buy are going to be products. So the pipeline that is used to build that software, the availability of that software, how you protect that particular application unto itself, super, super important. And some of these applications, sort of Cisco's own use of AI is also in software that we provide. Be in the contact center, for example. This is like the bleeding edge of where productivity gains for AI will come. And Cisco has a very strong and growing portfolio in the contact center, which is unmistakably, sort of at the heart of it, is built on AI. Some of you may be surprised to know this, but this is a multi-billion-dollar sort of opportunity and a budding franchise within Cisco. And then we work with a lot of the ecosystem partners that are helping larger companies get the most use out of the use of AI. So how do we sort of build a better ecosystem? Because Cisco's goal is to be a platform for the industry, not just a platform for its own products. So as we support our customers, how can we bring the best of our thinking to the broader community? So as you can see, like a very broad swath of how we think about AI, how we're investing in the use of AI, and how we're building products so that you all as a community can take advantage of AI as you build products, as you consume products. This is a very important topic. So AI, as much as it is transformational, can also be abused in many, many different ways. And being responsible about the use of AI is very, very important to us as a company. Somebody that is a stalwart in the company, we don't want ever to be in a situation where there is misuse of data. Cisco has a very robust policy framework that we call Responsible AI. For those of you who are interested, just search for Cisco Responsible AI, or you can go to www.cisco.com/trust, and you can read all about how do we go about building these AI first products. What is our processes that govern the use of data as we build these models and the capabilities that we build around it. How we make it available. So for example, I'll give you a small data point. Cisco WebEx transcribes from voice into text about 50 billion meeting minutes in a month, right? And it's a growing number, but 50 billion minutes. These models are what are also used for summarization. They're used for noise cancellation. They're used for a variety of different things. Those of you who've not seen recently a demo about WebEx again, it's well worth the 5-10 minutes. You can check it out on YouTube. You can obviously check it out on www.cisco.com/WebEx. Now, in all of this AI that is used for delivering these outcomes, exactly 0 meeting minutes are used in the models that we utilize. None of the customer data from these meetings are utilized for building this model, right? So a really important facet of how Cisco, as a responsible industry leader, is going about building this entire apparatus around AI. This is not surprising because this is also expected of a company as broadly deployed and used as Cisco, because we are hydrating literally every part of that value chain, right, with our customers, and it spans the gamut. I'll not read off of this. This is a pretty busy slide, but the idea here is that there are very specific use cases, and you're going to see. I was seeing the agenda for the day. You've got a wonderful sort of lineup of speakers who are practitioners. One of those sessions is going to be around something like, what is the data strategy? How do you go about sort of building one and then utilizing it as you build more AI-centric products, not just consume AI, but utilize it for your own products and outcomes in your organizations. Really, really important. And this is an important aspect, this part about selection, prep, and labeling. For those of you who are practitioners, this step is like 80%. This part is 80% of where the work is. And how one goes about it is very important. We work with lots of customers as well as partners as to how we have gone about it. And I'll talk a little bit about our relationship with Scale AI. I'm sure most of you know here about Scale AI, but Cisco recently invested and formalized a relationship we've had with Scale AI. This is the company, arguably, that has helped become OpenAI, what OpenAI has become, because they are the ones who have been the picks and shovels to the gold rush that OpenAI has unleashed into the world. They are the ones who provide this part about selection, prep, the data, the hydration thereof, the labeling, so on and so forth, so the models can be generated. But we're here to assist our customers and partners as they make this journey in AI to unlock the next wave of productivity. And we do it up and down the stack, right? So it's not like a one-trick pony. I've got a product to sell. What is your problem? I'm walking around with a hammer, so everything looks like a nail. It's not. There are various stakeholders at a different part of their journey, but with partnerships as well as our own internally developed products, many of them show up here. There is a whole sort of practice, if you will, that you can engage with within Cisco. Some of my colleagues are there in one of the public areas at the conference. They're talking about 4 or 5 products that we have today around securing AI. But again, in that ensemble of capabilities about providing protection for the models themselves, how do you scale them, what do you do with the data, how are you handling logs? There is a whole host of some glamorous, some unfortunately not so glamorous tasks that go into making a successful AI product. So they'll be happy to take and answer your questions if you have any, as you think about your practice of building products. But Cisco spans the gamut on all of these. I wanted to give you, since this is a conference of building new things, I wanted to spend a little time on this and walk you through how we think of development ourselves. So clearly, data is an important facet of what we do. and I'll talk a little bit about how we unlock the availability of that data so that others can build on top of it. But there are both acquisitions, some of them very noteworthy that you guys probably know about. Splunk was a large acquisition, and we're very excited that it is now part of Cisco. And then there are like focus practitioners that we brought in because good people build good products. Good products make great companies, right? There is no shortcut to any of that. So developing that concentration of talent around AI within Cisco is very important to us because it is that talent that is going to power everything, all the ambition that we have in this space. Armor blocks fit into that world. There are a bunch of these. I'll not go through each one of them, but when I talked about noise cancellation, that, for example, is Babel Labs. And these are leadership positions that we have built within our own company as well as in the industry with some of these acquisitions. Equally, we are very aware that not all innovation is going to happen in the four walls of Cisco. There is a very robust community of smart people looking at new problems or looking at existing problems with a new eye that we find fascinating. Robust intelligence, for example, an investment I think I led about a year ago or so, maybe a little bit more than that, around how are these models that we build, how do you protect, how do you build a defense mechanism for all these AI models? At build time, at run time, red teaming these becomes really important because these AI models are going to be recommending, at least informing, many of the decisions that we make. So the level of trust that we have to put into these needs to be not only tested, but it needs to be regularly tested. It needs to be assured through mechanisms, including red teaming. That's something that Robust does really well. What would be some of the other ones? I mean, there are lots of them. I can talk about these. Most people know about Data Robot. Again, a big provider that is used quite broadly in specific industries. Very valuable as to how they're using, or rather how they are being used by large companies in specific verticals. Very impressive list of customers. Maybe I'll talk about security.ai in a bit. Again, a very exciting sort of technology where you have data that's sort of in the capillaries of the internet. You could be using all kinds of applications, not just the ones that are running in your own data center. In that world, these applications are also holding your data. So just to get an understanding of where your data is and the context surrounding the use of that data is very important for the governance of it, right? This data is sitting in, yes, Salesforce, but how is it being used? And this is an API out of Salesforce that is being built for another application which may have nothing to do with the data that you have in Salesforce. How do you provide a viewpoint into all of the different sort of corpus of data that you, rather, all of the different repositories of data that you might have out there in the world. I'll come back to scale in a minute. Partnerships, really important. Whether it is with the hardware providers, whether it is with the software providers, we are working very diligently with all of them. Not because it is like a makes for a fancy NASCAR logo slide, but because our customers demand that this be the case. So case in point, Microsoft. I would argue that every single Cisco customer, pretty much every single Cisco customer, is also a Microsoft customer. And every customer, at least that I've talked to, would rather that the foundational companies that they have work better together. So our partnership with Microsoft is growing. It's early, but it's very strong. And we are working closely with them on the actual rollout of Copilot, right? Again, use cases are where we have the best stories, but as people roll out Copilot, there are some real world problems that are coming in with people having access to data through the Copilot that they were never meant to have if you were following the original DLP mandate, data loss prevention mandates in a company. So how do you bring about that same governance, the swim lanes that used to exist pre-Copilot? How do you bring that? Just because there is a different interface to access this data doesn't mean that your access to that data suddenly becomes more permissive or less permissive for that matter. So these partnerships are not just like rah, 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 let's do a press release, but these are based in deep deep customer outcomes that we are trying to generate for our customers together. Same story with AMD and DPUs and NVIDIA and their DPUs. These are all rich topics that I hope that you will get to engage in during the course of this day and the follow-on events and activities that you have. But it's very, very exciting. I sometimes joke with my team that I need a person, literally a person, who is all they're doing is tracking about all of the developments that are happening in AI. It's a full-time job just to keep up with all of what is being generated in AI. But it is, I can't think of a more exciting time in technology than what we are right now. Okay? And that brings me to talking about Scale and Mistral and Cohere, all three of them that we work very closely with. With Scale, I want to say 3 months ago, it might have been 4 months ago, somewhere thereabouts, we put in about $160 million into Scale AI. And also use of Scale AI as we build our practice for securing the use of AI in organizations, right? So really, really important. Right now, frameworks are like, and I'll use air quotes, like firewalling for AI. It's not really a firewall the way you and I think about it, with the sheet metal and blinky lights and all of that stuff, but sort of the way it is actually being used. But Scale AI is working in partnership. We are, I should say, working in partnership with Scale AI to build a quote-unquote firewall for the use of AI in an organization. Simple examples. These are just conversational topics. These are not really real. But just because you have, let's say, an OpenAI API into your application, into a chatbot, and in the chatbot, somebody asks, this is an inventory application. I'm making this up. It's an inventory application in which suddenly on the chatbot, somebody says, show me how to build a bomb. I mean, should the model answer that? It should not answer that question in any scenario, but definitely not in the context of an inventory application, for the love of God. It could be something that is completely unrelated, inventory application, and somebody's asking about, can you show me the organic structure of nitroglycerin? Or like, what? Makes no sense, right? So how do you make this fit for purpose for the domain in which the application is built? So capabilities like that, and then being able to look at both the prompt as well as the inference that is coming back, so that it can be right-sized for the application, for the data mandate that the company might have, becomes really important. So that's Scale AI and their use, our investment, but also how we're using. And I'm hoping that in this room, you guys are packed with more ideas that we can tap into. In the use of a lot of these technologies, we want to obviously have a clear understanding of how we are going to protect around AI. And I was talking to somebody last week, week prior, about what makes AI really deployable today. And the way I told it to them is like, in a whole bucket worth of AI, you need like a little drop of human intelligence, HI, along with AI, that really makes the magic happen. because it is not yet at a stage where everything, even though it's being used in a manner that is mirroring almost human sort of behavior, the context in which it's being used is more important. And where Cisco sort of holds a disproportionate advantage is that we are everywhere, right? So if any system is connected to something else, Cisco has a role to play in that. This number is almost real. It's not like the percentage maybe a little bit off here or there, but 80% of the world's traffic runs through something that is Cisco, be it a switch, a router, a firewall, or this or that or the other. A vast majority of what gets connected is through Cisco. So at that level of both, so to be able to harness that information as well as utilize it for the kinds of outcomes that we might want to generate for enforcement, for context, becomes very, very powerful. And this will happen in 3 phases. The first one, I think we're already seeing. Like there is assistantship. How can I have like a Jeeves? I can ask like, hey, tell me more about this. Tell me how to do this. Tell me, et cetera, et cetera. It's like an assistant. It's talking to you, right? And we have built this capability in a lot of our interaction in the consoles. The second one is around augmentation. So AI is not just informing, but it's starting to augment the workflows. And this can be very powerful in a security operations center because the person sitting in a SOC is one of the most heavily stressed person, but also has the most demanding job. I think there are some people right now at a few airlines who are living this experience, unfortunately, what started last weekend. So how can you augment a professional, not replace them, but augment the actions that they're trying to do? This is what we're working on next. And then once you build enough sort of trust in how AI is being used, then you can get onto automation, because automation can make a good thing happen really fast, but it can also make a bad thing go bananas. So automation sits on top of trust that is built in, and that trust comes from doing smaller tasks reliably and in a trustworthy manner. So these are sort of the 3 phases in which we are building. All of them are happening at the same time for different use cases, but it's a broad effort within Cisco. One of that broad effort is hydrated by our access, unparalleled, I would say, access to data. And what is most interesting in this access to data is the diversity of data that we get from Splunk. This is a very important facet of Splunk now being part of Cisco, because it is not just here are the logs from the firewall or here's a log from the network, but these are tools that are used at an operational level, right? So operations team use Splunk. So this is in a way sort of the heartbeat of an enterprise where data is coming from a lot of places. And if I complete the circle of where I started, that diversity of data is very important in being able to ask the relevant questions for the problem you're trying to solve. So by bringing these capabilities of, or rather bringing these repositories of data with Splunk, as well as Cisco, is something that not only do we believe, we are actively working on bringing about dramatically better outcomes for our customers. This is a quick flyby of the security portfolio. I don't want to go through this in detail, but just know that we are investing and producing outcomes at a manner in which it has never been done with Cisco. I know there are some people who might have thought, like, I don't associate Cisco with AI. Like, what are you people talking about? And I would say, well, give us a chance. Take a look. This is something, not only we're spending money, anybody can spend money. The real outcome is like, what have you generated out of that investment in the business? And I would welcome all of you to explore what we have unlocked at Cisco. And one of those capabilities, again, I would encourage for those of you who are interested to go by the booth that is downstairs, is Hypershield. This is an example of how AI can bring about a dramatically better operational environment for customers. All right. For those of you in the infrastructure world, know how painful it is to upgrade a firewall because it's a stateful device. For you to know, for you to know what rules to put, it's like a jumble of rules. Nobody knows why some rule was put. The guy who put the rule has long retired, and your people are afraid to take it out because they don't know what they are going to end up with. So the legacy goes on and on and on. And just like consider a room in your house that you never clean, only put things into it, never take anything out. You can imagine what would happen to it 5, 10 years in. That is what a firewall rule set looks like today. So we've built basically a firewall now that writes its own rules, tests the rules in your environment, okay, live with traffic, deploys these rules wherever the applications are, whether in your data center, whether in the cloud, or a combination thereof. When the rule is no longer needed, it takes out the rule, lifecycle manages is out. And the most brilliant part of this is this firewall that is doing all of this work, powered by AI, you never have to upgrade ever again. Usually, when I can see people's faces, I can't right now because the lights are too bright. When I say this, people look at me like I'm smoking something. And I remind, every single time I remind, like, whatever browser you're using, whether it's Chrome, Safari, Edge, Firefox, whatever, when was the last time you sat down and upgraded that browser? Right? Never. Like, I don't even know what version of Chrome I'm using. And I spend half my waking day in Chrome. I don't even care what version it is. So not only is it doable, we are doing it, we've done it, and we're making that happen. I am not going to spend time on this because I think you guys will have better idea. This is our view of the things that we can do together. But I'm sure there are a variety of things that this audience probably has on their mind. And if you do, forget about the form on the left-hand side. I can't read it. I certainly don't expect you to read it. But if you're interested, we have $1 billion to spend, to invest. And we would love to hear more. If you have ideas, if you have questions, if you want to challenge us on anything, all of that is welcome. I hope you have a great conference. You learn, you make more professional connections. With that, I am going to leave you to our next speaker. Thank you again for your attention. Have a good conference.